Hello, happy Monday. As you know, I am Soy Latina Fit and I'm extremely passionate for everything wellness. Introducing our powerful guest speaker for today, Teresa Serrano. And let me tell you a little bit about her before she jumps on. Teresa Serrano is a good friend of mine. We've known each other for, a few years now. She is building her business outside of her 9 to 5. And so let me tell you more on her professional level. She recently graduated, got her doctorate's degree in social work. So she is a family and marriage therapist. I am so excited to share her with you on this platform because she's going to be bringing the topic of how to cope with anxiety as you are building your business. And so she's a great example of it. As I mentioned, she's a single mom. She has, through her motherhood, has put herself through school, getting her bachelor's, her master's, and now finishing her doctorate. That's incredible. At the same time, you guys, she is the primary householder of her family, doing all these things and still figuring out the single life. Just imagine how the ups and downs of life, how many times I am sure she has gotten anxiety, has gone through depression, has some sort of mental health breakdowns. She's a human being. But now, being that she's this professional woman in this arena of mental health, she has the tools to figure that out for herself as well as bringing it on for us. So without further ado, let's Teresa. Amiga Tere.
Hi, Delfina. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction. Really appreciate you having me in your platform. And most definitely, the battle and the struggles have been real. Just a little bit about myself. I did, like Delfina mentioned, graduated last year with my social work degree as a doctorate. Yes, first generation. And so many times the fear, that anxiety really kicks in. And I think it's so critical that we bring awareness to that, right? So I'm excited to share some of the coping skills that I've used, and hopefully you guys can continue to work through them.
Utilize these tools that you have gathered through your education. And so my question first is, what made you become so passionate to continue your education on this industry or on this, I don't know what you want to call it, topic? When it comes to mental health, when it comes to therapy, all the goodness that we all need.
I think being Hispanic is such a big, there's a lot of stigma regarding mental health, right? So for me, it was breaking those cycles and creating new cycles for my own family, of educating them and letting them know that these feelings and emotions are real. They don't have to be defeating emotions, but it definitely can be growing tools for life, because life brings lemons and oranges, and they will throw things at you, and it's so important and critical to learn how to cope with the things that are challenging, because we can grow from those challenges. Again, we don't have to find ourselves being stuck. So for me as a Latina, it was so critical for me to get educated in this part so that I can also provide the tools that
you are Latina, and then also on your platform and also through your messaging is first generation. What, as you being that, what have you now working on this? What have you noticed most when it comes to the need of mental health wellness in our community?
A lot of education and normalizing it, because believe it or not, our biggest triggers are around us, our own family, because talking about feelings and emotions and depression, they just kind of say, get over it, it'll pass. Yes, it will pass, but we still need to normalize those feelings because they're there and they're real. It's not like I'm faking it, right? But this is where that cultural trauma comes in, because we're not addressing things and we're just throwing things under the carpet. yes, it feels very uncomfortable to have these conversations, but these are conversations that we must have in order to find space to grow and get
So
unstuck.
good. So good. And you're so right. You're so right. It's like, y esta que trae, like get over it. You don't need therapy, no estás loca, certain
Yeah.
things. Definitely normalizing, especially with our children, right? Because that's how we start cycles. My next question for you now that we are both entrepreneurs. Also, I work with so many women. So a lot of women that I work with, most of them actually, have a 9 to 5, have a family, and now are building a business outside of those amazing or needed fundamentals, right? Like having a career and bringing income that way, having a good family structure, because after all, we're doing everything for them. But at the end the third thing is building another business, maybe a way that fulfills their heart, but also that brings more income home. Imagine that. I mean, I shouldn't say imagine that because we're dealing with it, right? You're going through it. What do you recommend, or what advice do you give to those entrepreneur women who are going through all of that, but also the emotional roller coaster? What are some tips to help them build, as far as resources or tools to cope or to control their mental health?
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of challenges when we're trying to, break those stigmas, break those cycles, and get into like, I need to make things happen, right? So I think it's important that we first bring mindfulness and awareness to our needs. And when those challenges do hit, because they will hit, is really reminding yourself, wait, what is my why? Why did I even start this? What was the purpose behind it? Because I'm sure there's passion of why you started that. So it is critical for you to relax the mind and relax the body and take it back to that why, and being consistent. Nothing can move forward without that consistency. But there's times through that journey that you have to take a step back and just kind of stay there for a moment so that it gives you the space to recharge and push forward. I like to call those moments of growing pains, because without that pain that you're feeling in that moment or that anxiety, and it's not going to allow you to grow. And sometimes when we're dealing with that anxiety is the fear of the unknown, but that's not always a defeating emotion. It can actually be an inspiring emotion to visualize yourself that I'm going to get through the hump. And once I get through the hump, there's going to be beauty after that. So again, grounding yourself, really just bringing that awareness to the body and the mind, and asking, did I already eat? Was last night difficult to sleep and rest? Sometimes when we're not rested, we're not, eating our nutrition like we should, it triggers all that anxiety. So again, being very aware, take it always to the three basics. And I always share this, take it back to the three basics: resting, nutrition, and hydration. Because sometimes everything else is out of our control. And the things that we can control are just those three things. But if sleep is down because of the challenges, as long as you keep nutrition and hydration, you're helping your body heal to get you through those moments.
I love that. I love that. You just said, go to your why and really ask yourself, why are you doing this, right? In order for you to take care of yourself. But certain things, and we know a lot of women that are just go, 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 neglecting those emotions, or even those three things you just talked about. And so they're just on the go, and sometimes on the survival. They don't stop to feel, wait, there's this thing that I feel, and they just go until kind of like, when you don't change the oil on your car and you just go until dice the engine, like, no way, cálmate, I'm just gonna stop right here because you're not taking care of me.
Crash.
What advice do you give to those women to listen to? What are the things that they should listen to, or the red flags that should be coming up That way you take care of things now instead of waiting until you have a breakdown.
I think we notice it. It's our moods. When we're not resting, we're irritable. Everything is like, oh my God, oh my God. And so again, that awareness is so critical. Why am I moody? Did I even sleep well last night? Do I need to just slow down a little bit so that I don't fall behind too much? So just bringing that awareness and realize, and I know that there's a lot of mothers out there with small children and the challenge is real, but you also have to create some sort of support to get you through that journey of your wherever you're at, career-wise, profession, business. Otherwise, things are not going to happen, right? So get creative, get really creative, and pull into your support system so that it can help you get through it. I mean, yes, I'm a single mom, but in my own ways, I found my own support system and constantly putting myself where, if I'm trying to open a business, I'm going to focus on podcast, reading, on a business so that I keep my motivation there. But, kind of like answering the question that you said is just bringing that awareness to yourself. It is so critical. If you're not aware, you're in survival mode. So if you don't realize where you're at,
so God, if you don't change the oil, going back to, I always like to reference a car, and I love how you say, and okay, my own words, because ya me conoces, no te hagas mensa and don't ignore the red flag. Because you know yourself, you just choose to just go because you say, I can't afford to stop. I can't afford to take a break. I don't have time throughout the day because I got all these things to do.
But if I can add, Delfina, when we talk about self-care, many of us, like you said, we don't have time, but you don't need a lot of time for self-care. You can do it in between because you can't wait until that great vacation comes around the corner. You need to do it in between. Going for a small walk, stretching, the little things, reading positive affirmations, all that is fueling the mind and the body to take care of.
I love that. So you are such an example of figuring it out. So for example, you and I were supposed to meet yesterday and priorities came, right? Motherhood. You said, I can't meet. And it was for self-care. Yeah. And you said, I can't meet because I have to help my child with his homework. Completely understandable. Now with you, and to me, I'm not going to think, well, that is not taking care of herself. She's not making time off on her self-care because she had canceled on me, right? That's never a thought, but with that, it's such an example of you got to prioritize, you got to move some things. So for you, can you share an example, what your routine looks like to fit in those self-care moments, those 3 things that you talked about?
Definitely. So when I'm driving to work, I put on instrumental music to calm my mind and kind of say a positive affirmation to get my morning started. In between my clients, I get up and stretch. I make sure I'm drinking my water. I pack my lunch and my snacks. I get home, I feed my child. I make sure I work out, even if it's 20 minutes. And so I do the little things in between that are going to get me through my week feeling stronger and better. Obviously, as a female, there's times in the month that it's not perfect. So I just allow that to be what it is and recognize that I'm not feeling my greatest because it's that time of the month, right? But I'm still keeping my nutrition. I'm still trying to do the other things that are still in my control to keep myself well. So lunchtime, I'm either listening to a podcast, I'm eating my food. I'm always in between things because I can't wait until I have the whole day to take care of me. I have to do it in between.
I love how you are bringing up, and it's just so much in alignment with what I'm so much on the body, move your body, nourish your body and all of that. And the mental health piece of the pie, it's new to me and it's becoming so critical, not only to my life, but to my business, right? To really implement that. But I love how you are really bringing those points. Like, listen, if you take care of your body, your anxiety, your mental health is going to be good. Right. And to me, that just brings so much awareness on this is why you got to take care of your body. I always talk like the bikini body. The bikini body is the perk. You know, it's the extra, it's the bonus. But all of these things that really truly matter, right? It's what's being taken care of when you stop and take care of your body. Just stop and breathe.
And I think it's also important to share that sometimes our mind wants to keep going, but our body is like, I can't do this anymore. So listening. And even if you can't sleep, just stay still for a moment. Sometimes it's the other way around. Your body wants to keep going, but your mind's like, ya no puedo pensar más. You know, so then just leave it for tomorrow. You'll feel better if you give yourself that space to just ground yourself. You know, this is I think with business, you got to understand that this is not a race, right? It's progress as we're going and getting into these spaces. You know, there's been so much that I have had to put into it, but I also need time to recharge and recover in order to be present. Imagine if I didn't have wellness for myself, I wouldn't be a good provider for anyone else. So I'm priority.
So I really appreciate all of the tools you gave us today. Tere. One last thing though. What if there's this one woman here listening to us who has gone go, and it's at the verge of breakdown? What is an advice that you can give her? So like maybe obviously it's never too late to do the things you just told us to implement. But she's at the verge. What do you recommend for her?
Definitely say slow down and sit down with yourself and look at the behaviors that you're implementing in your life that are creating this, putting you in this place of virtual breakdown. You know, I think it's so important that we change the perspective of life or how we're dealing with life, because sometimes I can see and I'm like, you're okay. Vas a estar bien. But in their eyes, it's like, oh my God, I'm going to have a crisis. And it's just all about slowing down and looking at, like, literally write things down and look at things that you can change. Because at the end of the day, and that's another topic for later, but behaviors, everything that we do is stems from behavior from our childhood. So what are things as an adult that need to be revised or changed to work for us today? Because 20 years ago, what I did wasn't working for me. Now what I'm doing today is working, but I wish I knew back then. But if you're not aware of the behaviors that you're having, you're going to constantly find yourself in a cycle, right? So we change what doesn't work and modify it by implementing new strategies to ease the lifestyle and change the perspective of how you're seeing, the lens that you're seeing. I love
that. That's just so powerful. When do you recommend getting coaching or therapy? At what point or at any point do you recommend that?
Definitely recommended the moment that you're like, you know already that there's so much baggage from past life. We tend to bring all that into the front door that doesn't allow us to grow. So don't wait until a crisis is happening, because then you're more stuck. And I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's more difficult to try to process hurtful things versus knowing, you know what, I should have done this years ago. I love it when I get men, especially young girls, in practice for therapy, because I'm like, oh my God, you're going to be so much better off later in life, because there's so many older people in their 50s, 60s coming into therapy because they didn't deal with things in the past and they're struggling now in life. So don't wait until things hit the wall. If you know that something is not it's not aligning with what you want in life, then reach out for that support. I'm a therapist. I seek my own therapist. I've also done my own coaching with life coaches, because I'm like, this is what I envision for myself, but I need the support in order to get there, because we all need support. You know, I don't have all the answers, And sometimes the perspective of others is like, then you get it. So be flexible. Be flexible with yourself that something is going to, you're going to gain something from those.
Okay, I promise this will be the last one. So I always preach on you got to invest in yourself. You know, stop getting your nails done and save up for a therapy session, you know, because that's what I've done for myself. And again, to your point, is the more you do it, the more you realize of, wow, I should have done this so many years ago. So that investing on yourself, you know, you said maybe like stop spending money in here to bring it here as far as switching things around. Now, I believe you may know on this. So when it comes to insurance, if someone has insurance and may seek therapy through insurance, is that possible? And if so, what's the route?
It's definitely depending on the insurance. Make sure that you're calling member services and getting your, your benefits for behavioral health or mental health, so that you can explore your options. Many of the companies actually have offer that service, but there might be deductibles and co-pays that you want to make sure that you're aware of. Some things are covered, some other services are not, but for the most part, individual therapy is definitely covered by your insurance. It all depends on the type of insurance you have, and just asking for a list of therapists that are contracted with that insurance, and kind of just going through that list and seeing who's actually.
I love that. Just so people have options, you know. So thank you so much, that we can go on for hours, but I think we should series of topics.
Definitely.
You know, you just brought in the inner child, you know, or past wounds, and so much to cover. But thank you for your time, and I am certain anybody who logged on found value. And I'm going to be sharing this on social media and other platforms, so that way people can continue going back to it. So once more, thank you so much. I'm also going to share with you guys certain supplements that you should take when it comes to calming your anxiety, just because Theta talked about nutrition is a huge aspect. And there's certain deficiencies that you may be going through or dealing with that is causing these levels to go up and down. So I'll be sharing that more on the caption. So stay tuned, and I hope you find this valuable. And Tere and I will be doing more of these together. And I think we need to do a live workshop too, Tere. We've been wanting to do that.
I know. I'm like right now as you're talking, I'm like, I want to say more, but I know our time is limited.
We need to do like a series, you know? Thank you.
Yes, definitely. We'll be in touch. You're welcome.